There are experiences that happen to you that no one else can understand. Moments when time seems to bend, when a simple glance at the sky awakens in you a memory that does not belong to this world. It's as if something ancient and forgotten were calling your name, not with words, but with a melody only the soul can hear. Tolkien once wrote that even in the smallest leaf of the field there are secrets of the eternal, and that the world, to awakened eyes, is not only what is seen, it is what is remembered. For spiritual awakening is not a learning, it is a return to what has always lived within us, yet was lulled to sleep by the noise of the modern world. And from that return, certain signs begin to emerge, subtle, mysterious signs that announce that your soul has begun to awaken. They appear in ordinary moments, yet carry the fragrance of the invisible. There are days when reality feels slightly displaced, as if a thin veil separated what is seen from what is true. You walk through the streets and feel that something ancient watches through all things, a silent intelligence that speaks through light, through wind, through coincidences. It is the instant when the world loses the weight of matter and becomes symbol again, where everything carries a meaning only the awakened heart can translate. And then, for a brief moment, you feel a deep longing, not for someone, nor for a place, but for a time you may never have lived, a longing for what is pure, whole, and eternal. That nostalgia for the sacred is the first calling of the soul. It is the echo of the remembrance that before you were born into this body, you already belonged to something greater. And now, though you may not know why, you are beginning to remember. Today, we will speak of these signs, as if they were echoes from the West, coming from lands that still live in the memory of the soul. The first sign is when you begin to sense that the world is trying to speak to you. Everything around you takes on a delicate intention, as if reality itself were aware of your presence. When the soul begins to awaken, the world stops being merely a stage. It becomes a message. Coincidences, once dismissed as chance, begin to carry a silent meaning. Words that arrive at the perfect moment. Songs that say exactly what you needed to hear. Unlikely encounters, simple gestures, repeated signs that seem to come from something beyond the mind. Tolkien wrote that the universe is woven from stories, and that the thread of each life is entwined by unseen hands. And when you awaken, you start to see those threads. You feel there is no separation between who you are and what happens around you. Everything responds, everything reflects, everything speaks. But this language is subtle. It speaks through beauty, through silence, through lightness. Those who live only by logic cannot hear it, because this language is not made of words, it is made of presence. It is like the wind moving through leaves. You cannot see it, but everything in it moves with a secret meaning. And perhaps you have felt this before. Perhaps there was a moment when everything seemed to align for an instant, a phrase spoken by chance, a song that arrived at just the right time, an unexpected encounter that changed something within you. You could not explain it, yet you felt there was a hidden purpose there. as if the universe were breathing with your own heart. Sometimes these experiences leave you confused. You try to understand them rationally, but you feel the mind is too small for something so vast. And then you doubt. You wonder, am I imagining this? But deep down, something in you knows you are not, for the soul recognizes the language of life before the mind ever tries to name it. It is natural, at first, to feel out of place. The modern world has not taught you to hear silence, nor to trust intuition. But as you begin to awaken, you realize the invisible is more real than everything that can be touched. And that every event, every person, every word is part of an ancient dialogue. The dialogue between you and the whole. So, if lately the world has seemed to be calling you, if signs seem to follow you, if the same symbol appears again and again, believe this: it is not coincidence. It is the way the universe tells you that you are remembering who you are and where you came from. For when the soul begins to hear the secret language of the world, the entire world begins to hear the soul as well. There are nights when you dream of places you have never been, yet feel as if they are home. Landscapes of golden mountains, forests that seem alive, oceans whispering ancient names. These dreams are not mere creations of the mind, they are spiritual memories. And this is the second sign of those who awaken. Tolkien spoke of the West as the realm of the undying lands, a symbol of wisdom that transcends time. When your soul begins to remember who it is, it dreams of what is true, and what is true always bears the shape of eternity. These dreams come to remind you that there is more than this single existence. They call you out of the noise and into the silence, where reality shines with another light. And even if, upon waking, the world seems ordinary, something within you has changed. Something in you remembers. These dreams are callings, invitations from the unseen, summoning you to awaken from another kind of sleep, the sleep of the forgotten soul. They come when the mind can no longer explain, and the heart begins to sense that life does not end at the borders of the visible. When you dream of the West, you are being reminded that there is a path home, a path that has always lived within you. Do not give up on these dreams. Even when the world feels gray and without meaning, remember, the invisible still speaks, the sacred still calls. These dreams are not escapes, they are reminders. Reminders that you belong to something greater, that there is an ancient promise carved upon your soul, and that awakening is the beginning of your return to it. Look upon the world with the same eyes that visit your dreams. See eternity hidden in small things, in the light passing through a window, in the distant sound of rain, in the gaze of someone who understands you without words. The call of the West does not come only while you sleep. It reveals itself in every moment your spirit chooses to see the world with eyes of eternity.
And in that way, the dream becomes real, and the soul finally awakens to what it has always been, a traveler of the infinite, remembering the way home.
The third sign of awakening is when you understand that friendships have spiritual purposes. Not everyone who crosses your path is meant to stay, but no one appears by chance. There are encounters that happen because the soul needs to remember something, and sometimes that remembrance comes through another soul. When you begin to awaken, you start to see that some connections are far older than they seem, and that the true bond between two beings is never merely human, it is sacred. In Tolkien's tales, there are friendships that transcend fear, time, and even death. They are proof that loyalty is one of the purest forms of light, a flame that remains alive even when everything around begins to fade. There are friends who walk beside you not out of mere affinity, but out of destiny. They are companions of the journey, mirrors that remind you who you are when the world tries to make you forget. When the soul awakens, it recognizes these presences. You feel that certain people understand you without needing any explanation, as if they spoke an ancient, invisible language, the same one that echoes within you. They appear at precise moments to heal you, to teach you, to protect you, or to push you toward the next step of your path. And even when they leave behind a trace of meaning, because the connection between souls never ends, it only changes form. These spiritual friendships remind you that life is not a solitary journey. They teach you what loyalty means, what honor is, what love without demand feels like. They are like small flames burning in the dark, and together they form a beacon guiding you home. And perhaps, without realizing it, you too are that flame for someone else. For the true purpose of an awakened friendship is this: to be a reminder of the divine in another, and together to walk back toward the light. The fourth sign of the awakening is painful yet transcendent. It is when you begin to recognize not only your light, but also your shadow. To awaken is not only to see the light, it is to bear the sight of it alongside the darkness that also lives within you. When the soul awakens, you begin to feel the weight of the masks, your own and the world's. You see the falseness of appearances, the vanity of gestures, the emptiness behind so many words. But along with that clarity, a deep compassion is born. Tolkien wrote that even darkness must be understood, for even within it there is something that the light seeks to redeem. And so, the awakened heart does not fill with hatred when facing what is wrong. It understands that evil is merely the absence of meaning. And for that reason, instead of condemning, it seeks to heal. That is why so many awakened ones feel sorrow. They are not sad because the world lacks beauty. They are sad because they see too much. Yet it is precisely this kind of heart that one day will learn to see beauty even in pain. For when the shadow is embraced, it ceases to be an enemy and becomes a bridge. In the old tales, there was one who walked through valleys of despair, carrying the burden of something that could have consumed him, and yet he chose to go on. He did not triumph through strength, but through faithfulness to the good, even when goodness seemed small before the vastness of evil. This is the essence of the awakened heart, not the one who flees from darkness, but the one who walks through it with humility. There was another who was wounded within, believing his very soul had become a burden. He knew the weight of failure, of shame, of repentance. But instead of losing himself, he discovered that true nobility does not lie in never falling. It lies in choosing the light again, even after having known the shadows. That ability to forgive oneself and to forgive others is what distinguishes those whose hearts have truly awakened. And there was also one who seemed too small to change anything. But because his heart was pure and unassuming, he was able to resist the darkness when no one else could. He reminds us that the heart that accepts its own fragility discovers a strength the world cannot comprehend. The quiet strength of love, of sacrifice, of faith in what cannot be seen. And perhaps you feel this too, the weight of seeing what others do not see, the pain of feeling what the world ignores. But believe this, your sensitivity is not weakness. It is the sign that your heart is becoming vast enough to hold the whole, the beautiful and the terrible, the light and the shadow, the human and the divine. For true awakening does not happen when you flee from the darkness, but when you learn to walk beside it in peace. The fifth and deepest sign is when you feel from the depths of your soul that you are part of something far greater than yourself. You begin to realize that you are not merely this body, nor just this name, nor even the emotions that move through you. You begin to see yourself as a spark of divine consciousness, experiencing the world through your eyes. It is the moment when the inner mirror is cleansed. You look within and see both what limits you and what sets you free. You understand that your life is a conversation between the human and the eternal. Tolkien once said that myth is the mirror through which the divine reveals itself to the human mind. And when you awaken, that myth ceases to be legend. It becomes your own story. You begin to see the archetype of the journey within your life, the call, the trials, the losses, the overcoming, the return. And you realize that in truth, you are the living myth the universe is telling. Then something shifts silently within you. You stop searching for answers outside and begin to listen to the wisdom whispering at the center of your being. You understand that every pain you have lived was a bridge, and every joy a glimpse of what awaits you beyond time. The mirror of the self and the eternal does not show what the world wants you to see. It reflects what the divine sees in you, the potential to become whole. It is when you understand that awakening is not about ceasing to be human, but about becoming fully human, inhabited by light. And in that moment of recognition, the veil dissolves. You realize that the same radiance that kindles the stars is what makes your heart beat, and the reflection gazing back at you from the other side of the mirror is no longer just you. It is the universe itself, awakening through your eyes.